Alright guys, welcome back to class. In this section we are going to be talking about how to do the revenue and cost assumptions. In the previous section we look at how they use the sources of funds, and we are able to establish that our sources of fund is through loan and equity financing. So our equity financing is 120,000 and our loan amount is 80,000, so giving us a total fund of 200,000. Now we also say when we come back we are going to be looking at the assumptions for revenue. Now remember that everything we are selling, whether this is a distribution company, and the reason why we are building this model is for marketing and distribution plan, to know how many quantity we are going to sell to meet up with our target revenue, right? So here I decided to go ahead of you to just input the data. So we are saying that okay, we have three products we are selling. We have three products majorly we are selling. We have Aquafina bottled water. I'm not trying to promote any product here, but I'm just trying to build a model. I want to be realistic in building the model so that you also understand the basis of application. Now we are saying that Aquafina bottled water, we want to sell at least 200 packs each month, right? Everything we are going to be putting here is per month. Sorry, this is not the quantity, actually this is revenue. So let's say a pack of water costs, we are going to be selling a pack of water 200 naira, and we are going to be selling a pack of bullets. It's a bullet energy drink. Let me not use bullet. Somebody will think I am saying energy drink. Okay, bullet energy drink, right? We want to sell 120 packs per month and 120,120 naira per pack. Then we have malts, canned malts. Canned malt. It could be any types of malt. Then the cost. Now the cost of one pack of Aquafina, if we are buying from our suppliers or from the company, it will cost us 100 naira, right? The 100 naira. Now remember that cost includes both your transport and everything that it costs you to bring that product into your warehouse, into your store, into wherever you have it, right? So the cost for this Aquafina bottled water is 100 naira, and it costs us 70 naira to get the bullet energy drink, and it costs us 40 naira to get this, right? So how many quantity do we want to be selling in a month? That's another question we should ask ourselves. How many quantity do you want to sell in a month, right? That's another question a very good question we should ask ourselves. So we are saying that okay, in a month we want to be able to sell 150 packs of Aquafina bottled water. That's the assumption, right? Then we want to be able to sell 200 packs of bullet energy drink, right? We also want to be able to sell 250 canned malt drink per month. That is what we want to be selling, right? So all these things are input data. So I'm going to just apply it once. I want to say odd HJ, and you can say input odd HJ because they are hard-coded data. I'll just say blue. So you can see this is what we have. Now coming down again on selling general and admin expenses, SG and A. So we have the HR. The HR basically means we are talking about the staffs working in the organization. How many staffs do you want to? Remember, it's a startup. Okay, let's make the whole of this explanatory. So how many staff do you want to have? We have to have one manager. We want to have 2 sales personnel or 2 sales reps. We want to have one accountant, we want to have 2 security personnel, we have to have, let's say, like cleaners and other stuff, we have to have 6 of them. That is the head count of them. So we want to have 6 of them, right? So here now we are going to say, okay, we're going to say it's an input data across the entire 5 years. We are assuming that across the entire 5 years, these are the only number of staffs we want to have, right? But of course, when the company starts growing, we can improve, we can increase the numbers, right? So this is just an assumption that this is how we want to operate on a minimum, right? On a minimum, this is how we want to operate. So now, how much will you pay these people per month? Yes, how much will you pay this person? So the manager, we are paying the manager 500,000, right, per month. We are assuming that we're going to pay the manager 500,000. We're going to pay the 2 sales personnel, we're going to pay them 300,000 per month, right? This is just an assumption. We're just building an assumption. The accountant is going to be paid 250. We have the security man 80, and we have this to be 50. So we assume that across the entire 5 years, we are going to be paying them that, right? Across the entire 5 years, we're going to be paying them that. What you're going to do is apply the same sales formatting. Apply the same sales formatting again. Then Control R, it will fill it up, or you click and drag it to the right. Now, operational cost. Now we're going to say, okay, our rent. Now this is the confusion people don't usually understand in building a model. Now if you look at here, if you look at our use of fund, you can see that we have rent here under the operational cost. Now the rent here is the, you know, before you even enter that place, you have to pay. That is why it's coming as a use of funds. So we are assuming that we are paying this amount of rent. So the rent here is the initial rent you paid when you enter. So this one will include the facility fee, it will include the rent, it will include the legal fee, it will include the management fee, everything included in this particular rent, right? As the money you're going to pay initially when you enter. Now, subsequently, how much are you going to be paying? How much are you going to be paying as rent per month? So that is why we assume that how much you're going to be paying as rent per month is this. So you have to get this distinction. Subsequent rent is always coming under operations. Now, under the operational cost, which is the one we have under the use of fund here, is the initial rent you are going to pay before you start using that facility, before you start using that building. That is what it is, right? So we are going to now say, okay, our pre-operational cost, our operational cost is going to be, for rent is going to be 8,000. Then for utility is going to be 500. Then for maintenance it's going to be 100. Then for internet it's going to be 400. We have marketing is going to be 1,000. We have insurance is going to be 500. We have other miscellaneous. Remember that if you are dealing with core accounting, there is nothing like miscellaneous expenses. So that expenses must always be defined. But because we are building a financial model, we have to make plans for contingencies, things that will come later on. So we are going to plan for them. So, but when you are applying this money you set aside for this contingency, as the application process, you have to define what the money was used for. Because of financial planning purposes, you can just say, okay, miscellaneous expenses or contingencies that may arise that if you did not foresee, right? So that is it. So we are assuming that this is what we're going to be paying every month. So we highlight everything and say Control R. Then it should now fill up. We apply the same sales formatting, input, then put hard code, right? So this is it. You can see that we are coming up with our assumptions. The assumption is not difficult. The assumption is what you think it will be in the future, what you think it is now and what it will be in the future. That is the assumption. Now coming to our working capital. Now our working capital is actually very, very simple. What are the things that makes up our working capital? Our working capital, our current asset and our current liability. So that's what makes up our working capital. So when you look at it, we say inventory in days. Now, how many days does our inventory stay in the store before we sell them? We say max, we want to assume 40 days. Max, we want to assume 40 days. Our inventory should be in store for 40 days. Now, for the people that are owing us, how long does it take them to repay us? These are the trade receivables. How long does it take those people to repay us? Okay, we are assuming, say, okay, it takes them 30 days. If you take them 30 days to repay us, which is understandable, that's every month they have to repay their debts, right? Now we have the prepayment. How long do it take us? Mega prepayment, say 20 days. Now we have trades payables. Trade payables are the vendors or our suppliers. How long does it take us to pay them? Now you cannot say that you are paying your debtors before you even receive the money from the people you're owing. So that is why the duration of time, the time it will take you to repay back your debts or to pay your suppliers, should be higher than the time it takes you to receive your money from your debtors, right? So that is just the logic. Now accrual, we have accrual and others 30 days, right? So this is it. Now this is the assumption we have built around all these working capitals. So you can say the same thing here. So we're going to just apply. Instead of going there, I'll just say copy. I'll copy this. I will now say Ctrl HV ST. You can see. So instead of doing that again, what I will do, I'll just press, because the last formatting I did is what I'm going to apply. So what I'll just press, I'll press F4, which will apply the last formatting. So this is just the assumptions we have built around our working capital, our operational costs, and our HR, there's human resources under our staff management. And we have the assumptions on the revenue. We are assuming that we are going to sell 150 bottles of Aquafina in total. We are assuming that we are going to be selling 600 packs of these products in total, right, every month. Now then we have this, which you have already filled up. Okay, this because I copied and pasted, so let's change this formatting. So let's change this formatting. Sorry. So let's go ahead and say input and hard coded. So let's see how it goes. So we can just fill it in. Yeah, even though it does not matter there, but I'm not supposed to have anything here. Okay, alright, so that is it. Now we are done with that. When we return back, we are going to look at how to do our economic assumption, or better still, let me just do everything at once right here. So now, if you are a macro guy, it's easier for you. You can forecast economic inflation rate easily. But if you are not, you have to just go ahead and look for the current inflation rate. As you go to the internet, you look at the country current inflation rate. And another mistake I wouldn't want you to do is to have an inflation rate and you make the inflation rates consistent. No, inflation rate is not supposed to be consistent. It's either the inflation rate goes up or it comes down. And across these 5 years, we are going to be doing it dynamically. We are going to look at how it works dynamically, so that when the inflation rate increases, it will affect what we are doing. It will affect everything we are doing. So because from the beginning to the end of this model is going to be tied to the inflation rate. So you have to just be careful on how you make your economic decision. That's where the macroeconomic concept comes in. So we're going to look at the current inflation rate. So in this model, the current inflation rate we use the current inflation rate of 4.5%. Though it is Nigeria, our inflation rate is higher, but I just assume this inflation rate in Nigeria is higher. I just assume that this is the current inflation rate, right? Inflation rate in Nigeria is close to 37 point something percent right now, or 35 point something percent, right? So for the purpose of this, we are going to stick with it because we want to achieve the same result, right? So when you do that, you just copy, so I'll just paste this, Ctrl V. So I'll just paste this. This is the inflation rate. So we're assuming that this is our inflation rate. Why do I have two hard-coded numbers? This is wonderful. Alright, so let's go ahead. Let's go ahead, put it in percentage. Let's put it in percentage. Where is our percentage? This is our percentage. So it's going to be an input. And it's going to be hard-coded, right? It's going to be hard-coded. Now, because we have the inflation rate does not mean that we can automatically apply the rate to what I know. What we are going to be using to do our computation is what is called the inflation index. The inflation index is what we are going to be using to do our calculation. So how do we calculate inflation index? Right here. So how we are going to calculate this? You have to pay close attention to this concept. You have to be very, very careful here because it's a little bit more trickier. So we are going to be using the inflation index to compute. So what we are going to do, we are going to say, okay, we want to calculate the inflation index. Our inflation index is going to be open bracket 1 plus the inflation rate, close bracket. Then you now raise it to the power of the counter, that's the period. Open bracket, the counter, the period, minus 1, right? Minus 1, then you now close the bracket, and this will give you the inflation index. So this is exactly where we're going to apply our multiples, because we're going to say, okay, this is our multiples and its calculation is not supposed to be in bold. Why is it bold? Calculation is not supposed to be in bold, so why is it bold? It's regular. So we are going to apply our multiple to this. Alright, I'm going to say our multiple. What is happening? Modify. No. I'm going to say custom. So it's going to be 0.00. 0 means it's an absolute number, that whatever that is there is an absolute number. Then you don't put comma 0.0x. You close it again. I can see, okay, that's good. That's good. We have applied that. So you can see. Let me repeat myself. To calculate your inflation index here, you're going to say open bracket 1 plus the inflation rate, close bracket, raised to the power of open bracket your counter, that is a period, minus 1, close the bracket, you enter. This is it. So you now click and drag it, right? You click and drag it. It's calculation, that's why you're having it in that. It's supposed to come down. Yeah, so we are okay now. Supposed to come down, right? So we are good. We are going now. The growth rate. Now, what is your growth rate? The growth rate, what do you presume that this industry, the growth rate is basically, let's say it's how will I put it? Oh my god. the pricing growth rates. Usually the client determines the pricing growth rate, but in this case what you're going to do, you are going to assume, because you want to build a complete model, you're just going to assume the industry here is growing at this rate compared to the economy of the country you're modeling. So what we're going to do, because we're building a model, we're going to assume that this is what we're going to be doing. This is the value we're going to be using. So the growth rates, I just try to explain the concept why the growth rate is important. So we are going to say, okay, to V, right? So the growth rate is at this rate, so it's going to be an input. It's also going to be hard coded, right? Now the same way we calculated our inflation index, that's how we're going to apply the growth. We're going to calculate our price index. So we're going to now say, okay, equals to 1 plus the price growth rate close bracket raised to the power of open bracket counter minus, is that it? Minus 1, yes. All right, so that is our counter. So let's apply this multiple. Let's apply this format. So copy. No. Then this format. All right. So click and drag. And see everything is in place. All right. So that is another way. Now the quantity growth rate, our quantity growth rate, we are going to also assume a constant growth rate here. We are going to assume a constant growth rate. Let's say we are assuming, first of all, before I say any other thing, let me look under what's okay under base scenario. Okay, that's good. So this is it. So this is quantity growth. We are assuming 3.5 quantity, that the quantity will grow by 3.2% every year. All right, so we're going to say okay, because we are building based on what we already have. I want us to build exactly the same thing so that you also apply it on your own and see how it goes. Now let's go ahead and say Ctrl V. Sorry, not Ctrl V though. Alt HG. Sorry, HG. We have percentage. We have input. We have it's hard coded. Right, so it's hard coded. So now we have this. So this is what we have. We have already imputed our counter. After our counter, we have our inflation rate and the inflation index. We have the pricing growth rate and we have the pricing index. Now, what else do we need? Now, asset maintenance. Okay, we're going to come to that. That's still, let's just complete it. So our asset maintenance, we are assuming, it's also going to be a counter. It doesn't have, it's just a steady price. What we mean by asset maintenance is what it will cost us to maintain that asset. Normally an asset that is used in the first year of operation doesn't usually have any cost attached to it, because we assume that the asset is in full function. And that is why when you are buying any assets, you have to request for a guarantee that okay, within the duration of this social period, the asset should be in good condition. If the asset is not in good condition, you have the right to return it back to the person, the suppliers, or the person that sold such assets to you. But as time goes on, we want to be, how much are we going to be spending to maintain this asset? So that is why we have the assets here. So here now we are going to assume we are going to use a multiple in that. So we are going to say okay, so this is what we are going to do. We're going to now say Alt HVV. So we're going to say it's a multiple. We are going to use a multiple style. Why is the multiple style not working? multiple style. Why is it not working? Oh my god. Okay, maybe because the formatting was not done properly. Yes, this is where it was supposed to be done, but I was doing it elsewhere. So you're going to say the constant of this must be a value. You must have this, right? So once you're done, you just say okay. Why? I don't understand. It's a custom, right? See it now. Okay, right. So input, and we're going to have this coded. Right, so this is what we have. Now we have been able to input all our assumptions, but let's first of all do some due diligence. Now we have been able to input our counter, that's the period. We have been able to do our inflation. We have been able to do our pricing growth rate. We have been able to input our tax provisions for quantity growth rate. We have been able to input quantity, the tax rates, which is this. We have the asset usage and useful life, and we have the maintenance, asset maintenance. We have this. So all these information we have been able to fill them up. So when we come back in our next class, what we are going to be doing, we're going to now look at how to impute, how to do the calculations. That will be the next thing we are going to be doing here. So another thing you are going to do, so we are going to look at how to do the calculation, right? So that calculation, now we now tie everything that we have assumed into one place in order to arrive at the values we are expecting to be gaining. But remember that everything here will have to be translated into a monitoring value, right? So everything in our input, that's the assumption, we have to be translated into a monitoring value. Now when we are done with that, after we are done with that, we will now look at how to integrate that into our financial statement. That's after the calculations. We know how to integrate that into the various financial statement we have now. So thank you for staying to this end, and again, it's another right opportunity for you not to miss out on any of our training knowledge we are dashing out on this channel. Please to support and encourage us to continue delivering quality and educative videos like this. I will appreciate it more if you like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends who may need this class, because it's very important. Okay, please encourage us, and see you in the next class.